I'm Nick DiMatteo, and welcome to Music Is Not a Genre's PODFAST. Oh, yeah, PODFAST is jumping. Come on, let's go. Jump, jump. I know why PODFAST is jumping. Let's do it. Jump, jump, jump. Oh, God. Stop. Oh, my God. That hurt so much. But I get it. I know why PODFAST is jumping, and that's because this is PODFAST number 30. Jeez, my chin. My God. And it is about songs featuring the word jump. PODFAST number 30, songs featuring jump. And we will get to that in a second. But as always, thank you for watching and listening. Listeners, go to youtube.com/@musicisnotagenre. You get a video for every episode of this podcast. Watchers, go to nickdimatteo.com/musicisnotagenre if you would rather not have seen PODFAST smack me in the chin. And everyone, go to patreon.com/musicisnotagenre to support this podcast, my band Rec, and everything I do. Speaking of my band Rec, our new album, Kite to Camden, is out everywhere streaming, as are some singles from that album. And there's more music coming before the end of the year, so please go to nickdimatteo.com/discography to listen to all of that music. More than even this podcast, I could really use your support and liking and sharing and subscribing and playlisting and all of the things, rating and reviewing that they say to do it all really matters. And finally, I am running a song coaching business, meaning if you're someone who's always wanted to write a song and has been sitting on an idea or more ideas that you just never felt the courage or skills to execute, that's my job. So please go to nickdimatteo.com/song coaching and check that out and see if it's right for you. Let's get right back into this. And I'm reluctant to say this because I don't want PODFAST to come back, but okay, PODFAST will not come back. Just whispered in my ear and said, no, it is PODFAST number 30, the final PODFAST this season. And it is songs featuring jump, songs featuring the word jump. So why am I doing this? Well, so when my kids were little and we'd be in the car, I would always expose them to music. If there's something I was listening to, an album that just came out or an older album that's my favorite or a playlist I was putting together, whatever it was, if they hadn't suggested something to play, because I'd always defer to them first, I would play something. And if I was stuck, I would pick a word and play a bunch of songs with that word in it. So, for example, picking them up from school one Monday, I played a bunch of songs that have the word Monday in it. Manic Monday, I Don't Like Mondays, Monday. There's actually quite a few more than you would think. Wednesday is not a very common word in songs, but and we're going to get to common words later on. And I loved to see how these songs that were otherwise unrelated connected in some way because of that word. And I have noticed through the years, through many years, that the word jump is constantly in music. And you would say, well, duh, it makes sense, dancing and jumping, all of that stuff. But there is an origin for that. And I was curious about it. I did some research on it and found where that all kind of started in music and why it's been so prevalent throughout the years. So what I'm doing then is a survey of songs from the 1930s until this year, featuring the word jump, and the title and the lyrics, etc. The idea of jumping, the word jump itself. I will start, though, with a closer look as to why jump is so popular, the origin of the word in music, and where it ranks in the most used words in song lyrics, which was really fun to check out, actually. And then, I'll do song by song chronologically. I'll spend more time on each song than I usually do for these episodes, but not a ton, some more than others. And then, of course, some conclusions, including ranking the top 10 most popular jump songs, and then questions. And there's no featured song. And do you know why? Because I've never actually featured the word jump in any of my songs. And considering I now have hundreds of songs, that was actually surprising. It's something I might need to correct Rec's next album, but we shall see. Sources for this episode: Wikipedia, Google, Spotify, especially a playlist from myweddingsongs.com featuring songs with jump, Tunecaster.com, Reddit, brown.edu article by Elaine Sue and Hattie Shu, howtowritebettersongs.com, questionable but okay, sundry.jerryorr.com, tsort.info/music, weekendnotes.com, atkinsbookshelf.wordpress.com, fastcompany.com, greatpopculturedebate.com, and song bar.com. Disclaimers. It should go without saying I will miss lots of songs. And I welcome you telling me you missed this song about Jump. I want to hear that. I will not include covers of songs that are already well known unless the cover itself was a hit. And the final disclaimer is this is, as most of my podcasts are, Anglo-centric. And I like to point that out because there's more than just Western music in the world. But I do feature some songs from other countries like Japan, Germany, Brazil, etc. So let's get into it. Why is Jump so popular? So as a songwriter, I am hyper conscious of how I use words. I think that is actually very important for a songwriter. Not that you're hyper conscious of being super persnickety, but that if you're going to let a word be in a song and not edit it out, there should be a reason. I try to avoid what I call filler words, ones that are there just to keep the meter of the line, and either replace them with something more interesting or just cut them all together or redo the whole line. So, for example, just is one of my many pet peeves about lyrics, and people just throw the word just in because they need a beat there. And it can be used in, any word can be used in interesting ways, but more often than not, just is just wasted space. For example, something just off the top of my head, how do I make life so hard for you? I just can't see how that could be true. All right, fine. Or you could say, my brain can't explain how that could be true. You can make it more interesting, or something even simpler. How can that be true? Whatever. Point being, words matter, especially featured words, including jump. So why jump? Well, first of all, you'll find this out later, it's not the most popular word in songs, and it's far from it, actually, which is one thing that makes it so intriguing. It still pops up all the time in every decade, and there are hits in every decade with the word jump. So let me go over some top used words in songs, all right, in titles and lyrics. In titles in particular, because they're easier to research, it's more focused, I'm going to do the top 10 that I saw on Discogs research. So I guess that's another source, Discogs. And that is, oh, I see. Yes, the Discogs research I cited it was somebody else's site. So that is in the sources. The top used words, the 16.8 million, of 6.7 million, 6.2 million, in 5.9 million, you 5.9 million ish. These are all ish. I 5.6 million, to 4.4 million, me 4.3 million, love 4.1 million, and my 3.5 million are the top 10. Other popular title words not mentioned but cited in other sources: time, which was number 28 on this list, night 37, baby 52. Life was 54, heart was 57, world was 58th most used, dance was 77, and girl was 80. And as you saw from the top up there, the most commonly used words are words that don't have any meaning. They're connectors. They're, conjunctions. I forget what all that stuff is from grammar school, but the, of, in, you. Well, you is actually the first substantive word on that list. It's the fifth most used. Remember, many song titles, though, don't feature any of the words in the lyrics or don't have lyrics at all, which is why the words mix and remix are number 12 and number 19 on that list, respectively, but it's doubtful that they were actually used in the song. And also, I checked the top 500 most used words. Jump isn't in there at all. Don't know where it ranks. Couldn't find that. So in lyrics, the most commonly used words in pop songs are feel, love, take, time, never, life, die, I, EYE, back, day, world, heart, man, night, girl, mind, away, live, dream, again, oh, go, no, and KNOW, baby, money, lonely, home. And of those, according to one source, the only ones that have stayed in the top 20 used words in the last 50 plus years are no, KNOW, oh, love, go, time, never, like, and baby. Those 8 words. Another study of the top 100 songs from 1964 to 2015 shows that in every one of those decades, the words that are always in the top 5 are love, baby, and yeah. No surprises. Of those, Which consistently pops up as the most commonly used word in lyrics? Yeah, you guessed it, love. And again, this is, of course, setting aside non-substantive words like, the ones at the top of the list. None of these lists includes jump, which again is what makes it so interesting because it's never gone away. It always comes back. My guess as to why jump is so popular never goes out of style. Unlike many of the words I just listed, so much of music is about movement or motivating or taking action, and there's something exciting about jump because it implies taking a chance, a leap, if you will. That's humor. Plus, it's short, it's percussive, it works great in lyrics. It's actually believed that the word was created in medieval times to be a sonic imitation of the action. Jump, jump, so you can hear it in the word, kind of like an onomatopoeia, but not quite, in conjunction with some Latin and Germanic influences of other words on the word jump. Also, it's rarely been a trendy slang word. Every now and then, yes, but it has so many other connotations that it's never fallen out of use because it was too a slang tied to one era, other than used in place of get-go or beginning. Like instead of from the get-go, from the beginning, people say from the jump. That's a slang term that, has fallen in and out of favor. Jump, jump, street, whatever. A little dated. But since it's most often used in a normal sense, it's never really gone out of style. And there have been hit songs featuring jump in every decade since the 1930s. That's really when the word emerged as one to use. I'm sure it was in songs before the 1930s. I'm positive there had to be a few. But because of jazz, jump became a hugely popular word in the 1930s and even spawned a kind of jazz blues boogie woogie amalgam by the late 1930s and into the 40s called jump blues, which is a style that's often cited as the precursor to rock and roll, or one of a handful of precursors. And it had a huge comeback in the 1990s as part of the swing revival. But there was also a swing revival in the 1970s. So, these things happen. Speaking of decades, let's get into them, starting with the 1930s in order. Jump songs, at least moderately successful jump songs, and some others that are meaningful to me. And I'm going chronologically. By the way, I listened to every single one of these, so I have some frame of reference to let you know if you haven't heard them. I do recommend that you try them out, though. If I think of it, maybe I'll make a playlist even. The Joint is Jumpin', 1937, Fats Waller. The joint is jumpin', it's really jumpin'. Incredible, perfect place to start. There's a lyric in there, they have a new expression along Old Harlem Way. It was a new use of the word jump or jumpin' to mean a hot scene with lots of energy. Just a cool club, a scene, basically. Same year, Count Basie, 1 O'Clock Jump, a famous song by him. You start to hear jazz really coming together in this song. 2 years later, he did another song, 1939, Hollywood Jump. So good. Again, it's Count Basie. How could it not be? Same year, Jumping Jive, Cab Calloway, who will be mentioned in next week's episode as well. Redone by Joe Jackson in 1981 without the G, Jumpin' Jive, whatever. But that was a well-known song back in its day, as Cab Calloway was a huge star. In 1941, Count Basie, again, Jump the Blues Away. This was a hugely popular word. And later on in conclusions, we'll go into the times when this word surged in popularity throughout the years. Jump for Joy, same year, 41, Duke Ellington, included in its lyrics commentary on race relations, which was at the time considered pretty forward. Jumpin' Jupiter, 1941, Wayne King and his orchestra. Jumptown, 1942, Harry James and his orchestra. Big band, all the way big band. Hop, Skip, and Jump, 1948, Roy Milton and his Solid Senders. Quintessential jump blues. You want to hear pre-rock and roll? This is a good song, Hop, Skip, and Jump. I'd never heard it before, but it's great. And then you have the other side of the coin. In 1952, the easy listening, I guess you would call it, Jump Through the Ring by Vic Damone. Very typical of him and very nice if you like that sort of mannered vocalizing. 1954, Jump Me One More Time, also just called Jump Me. John Lee Hooker, amazing blues, a common word in blues. Jump With You Baby in 1955, B.B. King. Pretty straightforward, orchestrated blues. Jump, Jive, and Wail, it's a big one. Louis Prima, 1956. I have always loved this song. I've always loved Louis Prima. Brian Setzer did a great cover of it in 1998, though I still prefer the original. Jump Back, Connie, Jump Back from Gene Vincent, 1956. Really good early-ish rock and roll. Up Jump the Rabbit, 1959 by Frankie Lyman. I think it's an obscure song of his, but very nice one. Much less obscure, 1961. Jump in the line, rock your body in time. Harry Belafonte. Huge in the 1990s on stuff like the Pottery Barn CDs. Yes, Pottery Barn used to sell CD collections of music and Starbucks compilations as well. It was a real comeback song in the 90s and a huge hit in its time. The same year, Let's Jump the Broomstick, Brenda Lee. It was basically a country wedding song. Jump Back, 1964 by Rufus Thomas. Excellent funk. I believe I was hearing somebody saying that Rufus Thomas was like a rival to James Brown. I don't know. Don't quote me. The Carnaby did a song in 1965 called Jump and Dance. It's a one-hit wonder from Britain. Very high, kind of Who, Kinks, mod music, and I really like it. It's one of my favorites on this list that I hadn't heard before. 1968, Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Rolling Stones. My band does this one. It's a fun song to do. Jump Into the Fire, 1971, Harry Nilsson. And I was surprised, honestly, because I hear Harry Nilsson, I think to myself, folk. But I had looked into Harry Nilsson a little bit more and realized that he was much more eclectic than that. And this is almost like proto-disco, this song, Jump Into the Fire. It was covered by Chris Cornell, posthumously released in 2020. Jump, 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 1973 by Rick Derringer, who will also be featured in next week's episode. Jazzy blues rock, what you might think rock would sound like in the 70s. He actually sings the lyric, might as well jump. You know, so presaging a more popular song than that. 1975, Jump in My Car, Ted Mulligang, an Australian band. Again, pretty much how you'd expect mid-70s rock to sound, vaguely bluesy, southern. And it was covered by David Hasselhoff in 2006. And both Ted Mulligang's version in Australia and David Hasselhoff's in the UK and I believe Germany and whatever were both big hits. Not in the States, but in those countries. Following year in 76, Jump, Aretha Franklin. Not the last time she would use the word jump in a song. And not the most popular time either. Jump Shout Boogie, 1976, Barry Manilow. I have a vague memory of this. This was that swing revival era. It's basically disco swing piano song. Jump Boys by the Undertones in 1979, Irish punk rock. That to me deserves another listen. I didn't know about this band, and it's a very good song, Jump Boys. Speaking of very good songs, same year, 1979, Jumping Someone Else's Train by The Cure, one of my favorites. Jumping Someone Else's Train. Jump the Gun, same year, 1979, The 3 Degrees. Amazing disco, and you got to see the video. It's a very cool video. Same year, Apache, Jump On It, Jump On It. Sugar Hill Gang, an interpolated hit from an earlier instrumental. And it was then reinterpolated by Sir Mix-a-Lot in 1996. Jump to the Beat, 1980, Stacey Lattisaw. Now, I mean, I remember her name, but until literally yesterday, when I was researching this, I thought her name was Stacey Ladislaw, like coleslaw, but it's Lattisaw. She's someone worth listening to, though. 1981, Jump by Loverboy. Love the band. It's a fine song. Not as good as Working for the Weekend, but a good song. And I think it was a minor hit maybe in Canada. I don't know. Jump in the Fire, Metallica, 1982. You see how Jump is used in so many different kinds of music, which is fun, and I'll talk about that in conclusions a little bit more. That was on their debut album, Kill 'Em All, thrash metal, baby. Here's the hand gesture. Jump, jump, jump to it. Same year, 1982, Aretha Franklin was a relatively, decent hit for her. And I remember the song, clearly. Jump Shout by somebody named Lisa Parker. vaguely remember this from my DJ days, though I didn't own the 12-inch. Someone I know must have had it, or it must have been in a mix that I listened to. 1984, big year for this word. Of course, Van Halen's Jump. Yep. Covered by Bus Stop in 1998, technopop. And again, Paul Anka in 2005 did a swing version, which is fun to listen to. Paul Anka's an interesting guy. But of course, Van Halen's Jump. So that same year, Jump for my love. Jump in. Feel my touch. Pointer Sisters, yeah. Covered by a band called Girls Aloud in 2003. And again, with these covers, they're the ones that have popped up as being relatively, prominent in one way or another. I'm sure there were many other covers of these well-known songs. 1987, Jumpstart, Natalie Cole, decent single from her. And then you go to 1992, Crisscross, Jump, Jump, Jump. Yeah, I mean, big one. That year itself is a big one. Jump, The Movement, classic house music, very similar to Jump, but more, leaning again towards, techno house. Jump by GND, again, house, but different song. Jump Around, House of Pain. That was a real favorite of mine that year. Jump, They Say, David Bowie, was 1993, and I really like this. I had heard it a while ago when I listened to all of Bowie's stuff and forgot about it, but it's a good song. 1996, Cyberforce and Pat Davis released a house song called Jump. A lot of these songs are just called Jump as we go closer to today. And then Third Eye Blind, 1997, Jumper. I wish you would step out from that ledge, my friend, etc. One of the great songs from that album. And the one I go back to these days even more than Semi-Charmed Life, although I just like the album in general. Jump Up Behind Me, same year, 97, from James Taylor's Hourglass, one of my favorite albums of his. Jump and Shout in 1999, Basement Jaxx. I love this era of Basement Jaxx, the late 90s, early 2000s, right up to Kish Cash. Man, so great. Jumpin', Destiny's Child, 1999, as you would expect, a great song. Jump by the South Side Rockers in 2000, which is techno rock. I liked this song, actually. Jump by Mystical in 2000, solid hip-hop song. Start Jumpin' by Jump 5 in 2001. It's a Christian teen pop band. And I remember the name Jump 5. I don't remember the song. Jump by the J-pop band Every Little Thing in 2001. Fun song. Lil' Kim in 2003 released a song called The Jump Off. Strong song, often cited as one of the best Jump songs. You'll see if it makes my list when I get to conclusions. Mandy and Randy and Skeety Weedy in 2003 released a song called Jump. Very pre-Vocaloid, if you know who the Vocaloids are. Simple Plan in 2004 did kind of a pop-punk emo song called Jump. Surprise, surprise. Following year in 2005, the Sun Club did a techno song called Jump. And then, I believe same year, I did not put the year, it's either 2005 or 2006, the Chemical Brothers did a song called The Big Jump, which was fun. Chemical Brothers, I can, take some, leave some, but I do respect them. Madonna in 2006 from Confessions on a Dance Floor did a song called Jump, which was supposed to be a single and then not and then was and then didn't really chart here, but I think it charted elsewhere. I don't remember it. In 2007, the band Scooter, a German band, released a song called Jumping All Over the World, which was part of a craze called jump style. Quick note, side note here before we get to the rest of this chronology. Jump style is an EDM genre originally known as just jump. It was developed in Belgium and the Netherlands in the late 90s, early 2000s, and didn't really gain popularity until it was retooled and renamed jump style in the mid-2000s, or aka Jumpen, I guess it's called, or hard jump, I don't know. Centered around a dance style with high jumps and fast kicks and stiff upper bodies. So it was basically be like if Irish step dancing went insane, let's just say. Who knows? It faded slowly through the mid-2010s and then came back again online, especially on TikTok in the early 2020s because of Lithuanian rap artist Yabogene, who then repopularized it. And it's still around, jump style. So back to the chronology. 2008, Taylor Swift did Jump, then Fall. Good as her stuff is. Nelly Furtado and Flo Rida in 2009 did Jump. Fun techno pop song. One of my faves on this list in 2010, Erykah Badu with Lil Wayne and Bilal did Jump in the Air and Stay There. Oh my God, I love this. Same year, Ozzy from his album Scream, who will be featured in next week's episode. Can you guess what next week's episode is about? Really, really good song called Jump the Moon. It's almost techno. Worth a listen. Ozzy's Jump the Moon. Worth a listen. One of my faves. Also one of my faves, but one I knew, the Wombats in 2011 from their amazing album, This Modern Glitch, did Jump Into the Fog. Great song. Jumpin', jumpin'. And then RDX in 2012 did basically a reggaeton song called Jump. Rihanna in 2014 did Jump. Cool. Slinky beat. I love Rihanna. Her stuff's always great. I just love her style. I love where she goes everywhere, that kind of thing. BTS, early in their career in 2014, did a song called Jump, very strong. In 2015, Garmiani featuring Sanjin did kind of a reggaeton song called Jump and Sweat. Same year, Drake did a song called Jumpman, which could have been a reference to Mario. I assume he played video games. Decent, DaBaby, Young Boy Never Broke Again in 2020 did a song called Jump, but with all caps. Solid song. In 2022, Black Eyed Peas did a song in all caps called Jump. Typically insipid. I have very little time for Black Eyed Peas. A couple of their songs I enjoy, but there just seems to be not much behind the music. Tyler Gunna, Skillibang in 2024 did a song called Jump, not all caps. Compelling song. And this year, Blackpink, 2025, did a song called Jump. Cool song by a great band. That's my list. Again, not comprehensive, but pretty, thorough. Conclusions. It's interesting to note that Jump was almost exclusively used by jazz and blues artists when it emerged as a hot word in the 30s and didn't spread beyond those genres until really the 1950s. But since then, it has cut across all genre lines: jazz, blues, rock, country, hip-hop, dance, and disco, and funk, and pop. The use of Jump has tended to happen in clusters, and we'll talk about clusters in next week's episode too, at least for the hits. I'm sure it's everywhere all the time, but as far as the hits goes. There was a cluster in the late 30s and early 40s because of jump blues and jazz and all that. Same in the mid-50s as because of jump blues and actual blues, and it was popular at that time, Louis Prima and that kind of thing, B.B. King. And then again in 1979, there were at least 4 tunes of disparate styles with the word jump featured prominently. And then 82 and 84, important clusters of the word jump, with 84 being bigger. 92, there were 3 hits with the word jump and even more songs. And it goes on and on and on. There were a few, clusters here and there that I think are very interesting to me, and you can look them up. So jump will continue to be popular because it crosses all lines, which brings me to, I rank the top 10 songs featuring jump. Are you ready? Drum roll. Don't drum roll. You won't be able to hear what I'm saying. So number 10, Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Stones. Number 9, The Joint is Jumpin' Fat Swaller has to be on this list because it's seminal. Number 8, Jump by The Movement, which if you have heard this song and you forget it, you're like, what the fuck is this? 1992. As soon as you hear it, you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Number 7, Jump in the Line, Harry Belafonte. It's got to be on there. Number 6, Apache, Jump on It, Sugar Hill Gang. Could have been higher in my book, but I feel like 6 is right for it. Number 5, Jump, Jive, and Wail just noses it out a little bit because it keeps coming back. I mean, Apache does too, but, Jump, Jive, and Wail is Brian Setzer or Louis Prima is here pretty much all the time since then. Number 4, and this had to be top 5, and my wife would contend it's number 1, and I respect that, and that is the Pointer Sisters' Jump for My Love. Number 3 is Jump by Criss Cross. Make you jump, jump, jump. Had to be top 3. So did number 2's Jump Around, House of Pain. Get out your seat and jump around, jump up and get down. Jump, 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 and then jump. Van Halen is number 1, primarily because even though they didn't repeat the word as often as Crisscross or House of Pain or The Movement or any of those. The way they use that song was so featured, and it's the one that most people think of first when they think of this word. So, as I'm choking on my dry throat, why does any of this matter? Again, because words matter and movement matters. Think of all the stories that centered around banning dancing, dirty dancing, footloose, and long before that in religious communities because it was considered too expressive, too lewd, too sexual. And at the same time, there have been religious traditions in which people jumping and thrashing meant they were seized with the spirit. So jumping has always been, connected in one way or another. So for artists to evoke this by using the word jump, it was daring, it was subversive, but it was also uplifting and enticing and exciting and freeing and chaotic. Pretty much has stayed that way. Those are my conclusions. There's no featured song. Why? I've used the word jump in songs like Just About to Die from Parts and Labor. The world jumped by, I thought I'd lose it. I'm not singing it. Me, You, and Everyone from the Sunshine Seminar. And when you make that jump, you can't choose how you fall. Way Too Rough from Kite to Camden. Jump at the sound, hear the trap shut, steel tight. I've shared all these before. And again, I haven't prominently featured jump in any song, so there's no featured song. But go to nickdamadio.com/discography and you can find all the songs I just mentioned and everything else. And as I'm working on music for a new album, maybe one of those songs will feature the word jump. I don't know. So some questions for you. Have you ever noticed how there are almost always songs with jump in the air somewhere in the zeitgeist, in the culture, pretty much all the time? Why do you think that is? What are the songs featuring jump that you remember the most? What are your favorite jump songs? Do you agree or disagree with my top 10, with my number 1? What did I leave out? I would like to know the answers to all these questions because, as always, my objectives here are music, conversation, and connection. Thank you so much for hanging out for this penultimate episode of Season 7, and I will talk to you next week.